button. I did not hit the button, thank you.
Anytime, man. We neighbors just gotta stick together.
We do. Okay. So, I'm going to bet that everybody in this room knows what matter is. It's what everything's made of, you know, protons, neutrons, electrons. But what if I told you that there's something that's the opposite of matter? What if I told you there's something called antimatter? Now, before I get into what antimatter is, let's talk about what's relevant to us. So, as STEM majors, which I'm sure most of us are, we should be on the forefront of modern technologies. Now, antimatter is not currently used in many technologies, but it's very likely to be used in the cornucopia of modern technologies in the future. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Ben, you yourself are very clearly made of matter. How do you know anything about antimatter? Well, it is true I'm made of matter, just as everything in the known universe, but I studied antimatter all throughout high school, so I know a little bit. So I'm going to teach you guys Antimatter 101. Specifically, we're going to talk about what the heck antimatter is. We're going to talk about some current and future uses, and also we're going to talk about the obstacles that prevent widespread current use of antimatter. So, what the heck is antimatter? Well, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, which is a very well-known, respected encyclopedia, just as regular matter has protons, neutrons, and electrons, antimatter has antiprotons, antineutrons, and anti-electrons, which are also known as positrons. Now, what's the difference? Well, they have the same mass as their counterparts, but they have opposite electrical charges. For example, protons are positive, but antiprotons are negative. Electrons are negative, but anti-electrons, aka positrons, are positive. Antineutrons and neutrons are both neutral, but the quarks that make them up are different with quantum spin. One important thing to note about antimatter. If matter and antimatter come into contact with each other, they completely annihilate each other. They are completely destroyed. So, for example, hydrogen and antihydrogen collide, completely eradicated, and according to the equation E equals mc squared, they convert entirely to energy. Masses convert to energy. Massive amounts, by the way, gamma rays. That's very important. So, that's cool and all, but how do we use it? Well, the current medical use of antimatter is in the form of PET scans. Think of PET scans as like a high-power MRI. It sees inside the body. So, PET scan is an acronym for positron emission tomography. The patient is injected with a radioactive tracer, and as that tracer decays, a positron is emitted inside your body. That comes into contact with electron, releases a gamma ray, and is picked up by the PET scan. It shows you exactly what's happening inside your body, like metabolic processes. Very interesting. It helps diagnose cancer, heart disease, and litany disease. A future use, it's very interesting, is rocket fuel. Now, NASA did a study on this in an article entitled Reaching for the Stars. They found the specific impulse of various fuel sources. Now, what they found was truly astonishing. The current rocket we use is the one on the left. That's 455 seconds of the specific impulse, which is a measure of the power of a rocket. On the right is antimatter. It is 2,000 times more powerful than the rocket we use to get to the moon. Think about that for a second. Also note, it's 10 times more powerful than nuclear fusion, which is what powers the sun. So you may be thinking, antimatter, it's good, right? Why don't we use it? Well, there's a very simple answer. It's expensive. Like really expensive. Like really, really expensive. How expensive? Well, Penn State and NASA did a collaborative report, research paper on this, and they ran the numbers. And they found that antimatter, 1 gram of antiprotons, is $62.5 trillion. Trillion with a T, like 10 to the 12th power. Now that's an incomprehensible number, so I mean, I can't imagine $1 million, I sure can't imagine a trillion. So I crunched some numbers and I found out exactly what that is in relation to other high-priced things, so we can get a better idea. It is 3.5 U.S. national debt, 82,000 Mona Lisas, which is valued at $760 million, and $250 million brand new 2014 Ferraris. Wow. So, until we cut the cost, we're not gonna be using antimatter in a widespread form anytime soon. But, that wasn't supposed to happen. Ignore that. Anyway, but, I think I'm on feet. So, what we talked about today, what antimatter is, what's it used for, how powerful it is, and also, we talked about why we're not going to be using it anytime soon, because it costs a lot of money. So, again, as STEM students, once we cut the cost down, we should be on the forefront of modern technologies and understand what antimatter is so we can use it in the future. So now, hopefully, you guys all understand why antimatter matters.